Hi, and welcome to BevCam's production of Conversation with the Candidates. I'm your host, Andi Freedman, and today we're talking with Scott Hunt, who is running for Ward 3 City Council. Welcome to the show, Scott. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Welcome.
You're very welcome. So let me ask you, for voters who are not familiar with you, who may be seeing you for the first time in your ward, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I work for American Income Life, which is a beneficiary company. We do supplemental insurance. I am a family person. I have a wife and two young children, 12 and 8.
And they go to Beverly Schools?
And they both do, yeah. My daughter goes to Centerville. She's in 3rd grade. My son goes to Briscoe. He's in 7th grade.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being here. So why don't you tell me why you're running for City Council?
I want to improve the area that I live in for Ward 3. There's been a lot of talk, but not a lot of action going on. And it seems that we always have this. It seems that we always have a stigmatism of the bad neighborhood of the city, which isn't true, because there's a lot of family people there that have children that need to be. They may be a lower income crowd, but they have a voice and they're not being heard.
Can you give me an example of something that's been talked about and not done?
The roads are a major issue. There's a lot of roads that need to be cleaned up and paved, and once in a great while you see a street sweeper come by, but it's not like all the other areas in the city that get attention for it.
So you're saying you really feel like you're part of the city's being neglected?
Right.
Okay. And would that be at the top of your agenda, or do you have some other agenda items that?
Well, there have been a couple of other issues that have been kind of addressed, but not so much addressed. For example, our park area, the Gage Street Park, it's Holbrook Park, needs to be addressed, and there's been a couple issues that have been taken care of, which are minor issues that should be addressed, but the bigger issues are not getting addressed, so that the kids go down there and play, but there are still some problems that exist that need to be looked at.
And do you feel like, what do you feel like the amount of time you need to put in for this job to really be effective at it?
I would say probably, I don't know, that's hard to say. I mean.
Okay. What's your expectation?
I'm hoping a good amount of my time would be put into it. I would probably say 60-40 maybe.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about fiscal responsibility and budget, because that's always on the top of everybody's agenda. Everyone wants to know how much everything's going to cost. So when you hear that word, fiscal responsibility, what does that mean to you?
It means that you have to stay on track with what the city is allowing you to use for your area. If they're giving you $50,000, you can't go any more than $50,000 because you'll have to go looking for more money, and then that means fundraising, what have you, like that. Do you have an example of fundraising that you might? How would you raise revenue? Like, what would be some of your suggestions? You'd have to have some kind of like sales around the areas to get things going. Small things would probably be some community yard sales and stuff like that, or fundraisers to get the streets taken care of.
Okay.
You'd have to reach out to the business community to help out.
Okay, and do you think you have experience with
I think with my sales background, I can really help out with that. Yeah.
Okay. So you have a sales background. There's $105 million budget approximately in Beverly. Have you dealt with budgets that big, or are you comfortable with that?
Yeah. Not that big. I'm usually on a smaller scale. When I used to work in restaurants, they were smaller scale budgets. I mean, we're talking probably a couple million, but.
What do you think the biggest challenge will be in balancing the budget? And
I would probably say looking at where things can be cut. I mean, there are some things that need to be cut, and there are some things that need to be raised. So we just have to figure out how to cut some and move the other ones up to the priorities.
Do you have an example of something that you would like to see cut and something that you would like to see
I don't
raised?
have any examples right yet.
Okay.
I'm still
All
kind of
right.
looking into
You're
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think? Let me just rephrase the question a little bit. Like, what do you think the most crucial things that need to be funded are in the city?
In the city, I would say there are a lot of street repairs that need to be done.
Okay.
And there are a lot of we do need more police presence in my area especially, but in the whole city we need a bigger police presence.
Okay. All right. So police would be a top budget issue. Anything else?
I would say the fire department too needs to be looked at. I mean, there are a lot of fire departments when you go around that really don't have all the equipment in their building.
So schools are a huge chunk,
Schools
right?
are a huge chunk too. We need to really address the Briscoes issue right there.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit, the Briscoe issue. What do you see?
I think Briscoe really needs to be updated, if not moved to a new school. It's very worn down, and they're just using Band-Aids to keep things running.
Right.
I mean, my son goes there right now, and when I walk around the school, it really looks like a 1950s school.
I think it is.
I think it's it may be older than that, but
I
I'm
think
not
it's older
really.
than that, yeah.
It looks old and it looks worn down, and it just paint is not going to help it. It really needs to be updated, if not moved to a different location to build another one.
And I believe there is a plan.
I think there is a plan. Yes.
Yeah. Well, with the budget constraints.
I think that's where the state would come in and have to put a helping hand in. States, we just did the Beverly High School not too long ago.
Yep.
Now the Briscoe is the next one that's coming up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not for our kids, but
Right, exactly. Maybe
but
for the
next
generation,
for the
yeah.
younger ones,
Right.
Which would be great. Yes, yes. So that would be a big construction project,
That would be
right?
a big construction.
Big.
Yeah. Almost as big as other construction sites that are on board.
So that's a good segue, because I was going to ask you about some of the other proposed development in Beverly, what your thoughts on that. Obviously, I mean, I'm not going to be subtle about this. The 128 interchange there, development there, that's on everybody's mind. What's your thoughts about it?
I think it's going to be a good thing. I mean, a lot of people have negative opinions on it, but I think it's going to be a good thing for the city. It's going to give us another open way to get in and out of the city, and for tourists to come in and out of the city as well. I mean, we need tourist money to help with the revenue. So, I mean, with another entrance that goes in and out of the city, I think it's going to be something of a value to us. And the one that we have now is also worn down and tired. It needs to be updated.
It's
There
a
are a
rough
lot of businesses
intersection,
around there that need to be looked at. So that, I mean, they may think that it's bad at this time, but once it gets going, I think that they'll jump on board.
And are you worried about, because there's a proposal for retail and shopping and that sort of thing, that will kind of negate the...
I think that's also going to be a good revenue. It's going to be tax money coming in. I mean, people think, okay, my neighborhood's going to be damaged because of the new road,
impacted,
but
yeah.
it's going to be a good thing for the city, because it's going to be more tax money coming into the city.
So that's one way in your mind to generate more revenue?
Right.
Oh, okay. Other construction projects that, other development areas that are either proposed or going on that you have an opinion
I
about?
think they've been talking about the Cabot Street one right in front there by the Domino's area. Domino's Pizza area.
Okay. Would you call that the Gloucester Crossing
The
area?
Gloucester Crossing, right. Yeah, that would be my area. I think that's going to be something that really needs to be looked at, because there should be some kind of a street sign, not a street sign, I guess, a signal there that is for, as traffic. There needs to be a traffic signal put there.
Because
go
ahead.
It's very high traffic, and there are a lot of kids that are crossing. The kids, you got the kids coming from Briscoe, you got the kids coming from the high school.
Yeah.
And it really needs to be addressed with some kind of traffic signal, and especially at the school time areas. There needs to be a crossing guard there.
It sounds like you have a passion about roads and traffic and...
Well, I mean, that's how business...
Quality of life, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. What about the waterfront?
The waterfront is something that needs to be looked at, too. I mean, there's been times that have been... it's looking good now, but it needs to be, that building needs to be taken down and worked on, and something that needs to be happening down there is
Well,
a lot of talk, but I don't see a lot of
yeah.
action.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously
A
been
lot of
troubles
hold-up.
down there. A lot of hold up, right? What are some? Do you have some ideas about there, or
That I'm not really
what
sure
would
on
your
yet.
input on the city council be there? You think?
We really need to find out who's going to go down there and who's going to stay down there. I mean, you just can't have just one guy coming in and one guy going out. You need to have somebody that's going to stay in there, make it happen, and do the work that needs to be done to clean it up and to build down there. I mean, there's no way really, there's not a really good way to get in that place. There really has to have a big construction that needs to go straight into it. You can't have this way that it's going now. I mean, look what happened. That's why the restaurant closed in the first beginning.
Yeah, the McDonald's.
The
you mean?
McDonald's.
Okay. And then also there's some not derelict buildings, but there's some buildings that are not in use right now, like the former McKay School, other buildings around the city. What would be some of your ideas about what to do with them?
See if there's somebody that wants to buy them, like a condominium association could pick up the McKay School. I mean, that's a nice sized building that could be renovated and made into condos. That would be more tax money coming in. Sell the properties that are just stagnant.
I think there's an asbestos problem with the McKay School, but I'm not sure. I think that was what happened with that one. But what about other things, other infrastructure things like City Hall, fire station, police station?
I think the police station, for one, needs to be moved. That is a big topic that I think that needs to be addressed. I mean, they're in that little tiny, you can't see it unless you know it's there. I mean, it's really tucked in the back.
Yeah.
As far as the Cabot Street side, on the opposite side, behind the City Hall, it just looks like a part of another building that nobody knows about. There really needs to be something done with that and to be moved out of there. I mean, if it wasn't such an asbestos problem, I think that McKay School would be a perfect spot for that. It's right on the main road, and there's plenty of backyard there that they could expand on. But like you said, it's the asbestos problem that's down at the McKay School. But that building needs to be moved out and really cleaned up and torn down for now, I think, and moved into a new property, where I don't know yet because I really haven't stuck my feet in there.
Right. That's an issue that you've been focusing on.
Right.
And so if you were on the city council, how much effect do you think you could have on these things, that these desires of yours to?
I think I have a lot of passion with myself about the city. I mean, I've only lived here for about 7 years, but I was born here, and then I came back here to live here with my family. So I have a lot of passion about the city, and I think that with my passion, I can move a lot of things to happen.
And I noticed that you had mentioned wanting to get more tourism in. You had mentioned that before. Do you have some ideas for how to attract more tourists?
I think that's where the Chamber of Commerce would probably come in and help us out too. Their part would really help us out. And
so
we
you
could
would
also
try to make connections.
Right.
There.
We need to make more connections. You know what I mean. There has to be. It's all one big city, but there has to be leaves that follow the tree.
Okay.
Basically.
All right. And what would so in other words, how much influence do you think you would have on the city council as a ward councillor?
Hopefully I could have a lot of influence. I mean, with the areas that my area is in, I think that if everybody backs behind people, then it's better to have more than one than just by standing alone. So,
have you? What are your constituents saying? If you've been going door to door, what have they been saying that their biggest concerns are?
Their biggest concern is a lot of the street repairs and a lot of community buildings that are just abandoned, and a lot of well, I don't want to say too much about it, but
okay.
some of the schools around the secondary schools especially need to be looked at as far as where they're locating themselves with the crowds that they're occupying in there.
So you're talking about like Briscoe is it draws crowds during drop-off and, I'm sorry,
No,
I don't understand.
I'm thinking more the college
Oh, you
areas.
mean the
college
okay.
schools, they're having, some of the residents are having problems with some of the college dormitories.
I see.
They're having some issues with loud noise and
I see what you're saying. Okay.
just, they're saying that it's bringing down their area in value because of all these college dorms in the
So they're
residential areas
they
instead
feel
of
that college
some of the
presence,
colleges, yeah.
the dormitories are
Right.
okay. Since you brought up colleges, you know, there's several that are part of our community,
There
right?
is, yep.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot in Beverly about what their contribution should be to the city. What are some of your thoughts about that?
I think being that they are an educational institute, so they do need to get a little bit of a break like the other schools do, but
Yeah.
they're also a business.
Yep.
That they're in the business to make money. So if they're making money, then they should put more into the city as well. If they're going to be living and staying in the city, they certainly ought to contribute to the city's economy as well. And I don't know what the percentage is that they contribute now, but I mean, they should be on the same level as a big city college should be. I mean, all the colleges that we have in Beverly are smaller, family-sized colleges, but they should still contribute the way every other business is contributing. They should get some of a break, like I said, because they are an educational system, but they should also support the city, whether it be in economy or whether it be in helping out with fundraising in the city or just some kind of contribution that they need to. We should set a standard for all the schools. None should be less than the other one.
Okay. You talked about, let's talk a little bit about education and what
Okay.
your what your thoughts are as a city councilor. What's your influence over the educational process, and what kind of changes could you make, or how could you influence education of?
I think being that I'm a parent and both of my children go to school here,
Yeah.
I think it's really important that the children get the best education that they can get, whether it be hiring new teachers that aren't, and I don't want to say that the teachers that we have now aren't doing their job, but secondly, we should check and see who's not doing their job, if they're not doing their job, and try to get them some help and support. I don't want to say that I want to get rid of anybody because that's
Right.
not the decision that I would make. That's the school committee's decision to make that kind of choices. But if teachers need more help, then they should get them more help.
And how do you think the city council plays into that?
I think it plays a large role, but it also has a subcommittee that where the school committee comes into play. I think they should take the advice of the school committee and then follow it from that point on.
And how do you think you'll get the other city councilors to focus more on your ward concerns?
I think if we get them to come down and visit the area and do a walk around, then maybe that would be something that they could look into as well and jump on board with me. I think as a group we can all get it done together.
Yeah.
It all needs to be a group a group situation. I mean, I'm willing to go around and take a walk around and show everybody what needs to be addressed and what needs to be looked at.
Do you think that some of your concerns are shared in the other wards as well?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that my ward is a bad ward because it's not. There's a lot of families there. I mean, like I said, they may be lower income families, but they still have voting rights and they still have potential, like every other area of the city.
So I'm hearing that you feel like your part of the city is more neglected than others because it's a low income area, or?
Well, that's what I've been hearing, yeah.
So the residents feel that way.
Right, the residents feel that way.
And so it's specifically with the roads that you brought up.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
like I said, there's always a Band-Aid put somewhere. And if we're going to put a Band-Aid, let's put a big Band-Aid instead of a small little tiny Band-Aid that just...
So instead of covering up a pothole, you want the street paved.
Let's pave the street instead
Yeah.
of doing a Band-Aid, which when winter comes, it just takes it all up again, so...
So how would you bring that issue to the forefront of the city agenda with so many other things going on in the city?
We're just putting money into the bucket, and the bucket is getting emptied 3 or 4 times. Instead of the bucket getting emptied once, it's getting emptied 3 or 4 times by just putting patches on it.
Okay, so you're saying it would actually save money to...
To put it done, to get it done right the first time, instead of putting a patch on it.
Okay.
Do the entire area once and be done.
So I'm going to bring it back to money again, since, right?
Absolutely,
so, yeah. I mean, it comes back to the budget, right?
Right, yep.
So, and you're feeling, because probably roads are an issue for all wards.
Exactly. Some more than others, I'm sure.
Some more than others, okay.
So we'd have to evaluate which ward needs the most addressing.
How do you think they appropriate that, or how they've come up with that list?
That I'm not really sure yet.
So that's...
Something that it needs to be something that I need to look into to find out. I mean, I'm sure. Actually, I'm not really sure. So.
Okay. So other than the roads, because the roads would have a budget, a certain budget,
exactly. Yep.
Right. You know, bringing it back to what are some other items that would need to be put to the forefront of the budget? You know, in your opinion?
I would say definitely the school system needs to be looked at.
So it's like half the budget, right?
Exactly.
So you think there's places to conserve, or you think it needs more money? What?
As far as the schools?
The schools, yeah.
I would say that as much money as we could probably allow would be this. I mean, we're talking the kids are the future of the future of our country, so we definitely need to let them get as much out of their schools and put as much into the schools as we can. But also, like you said too, we have to watch the budget. So if there are other areas that we can watch, let's give them a little bit more than what they need.
Are you familiar with the school committee members? Have you talked to them? Would you be interested in working with them on this?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, I know there's some elections for the school committee coming up, and I actually know one of the people that are running for the school committee too. So,
do you have any ideas of one particular area of education that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the MCAS really needs to be looked at. We really need to sit down and talk about that, I guess. And really, I mean, that's a state thing too, so we really need to look at it and make sure that we're on the right track. If there are lacks right in some areas, then we need to see why there are some areas that are lacking.
Okay. What else should we know about you that we don't know yet?
As far as like hobbies or?
Yeah, sure. If that's, yeah, I mean.
I'm not really sure.
You know, what else would the voters like to know about, more about how you feel like you could affect change in the city government?
I would probably say that I'm really, like I said, I'm really passionate for the city, and I want to bring new blood to the city,
New blood
I guess.
to the city. Okay.
Now that we got the mayor leaving, it's time for a lot of change. Change is good.
Change is good. Excellent.
I mean, a lot of stale people go in and need to be moved. It needs to be a little bit of shuffle, I guess.
Okay.
Like a shuffling the cards.
And you want to be a new card put in the deck.
Exactly.
to
Yep.
use your.
Exactly. We have a new mayor that's going to be elected, and there's room for improvement in other areas of the town too.
Yeah.
City.
Okay. Great. Well, it'll be a very exciting year.
It will, definitely.
I will say that. We only have just a few minutes left, and if the voters would ask, why should I vote for you? You could just look at them and tell them why they should vote for you.
Wow, that's right on the spot, huh, Andy?
Did I put you too much on the spot? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
No,
that's
no.
okay. I'm always there, and basically, I love the city, and I love living in the city, and I'm not the only person that lives in the city, but I definitely am one of the people that could make an improvement in the city, as far as especially in the community that I'm going to be running for.
Well, thank you so much, Scott Hunt, who's running for Ward 3 City Councilor. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
My name's Andi Freedman, and on behalf of BevCam, thank you for joining.